Please welcome Vice President, Developer Experience, AWS, Adam Seligman, and Head of Community Engagement, AWS, Emily Freeman.
Hey everyone, Emily. So, welcome today. As an industry, we all talk about developer productivity a lot. Like, it's really important in technology how developer tooling and DevOps can make developers more productive, more productive, more productive. But what I want to talk about today is I think developer productivity is just one part of the story. And I don't know about you, I don't optimize my life only for productivity. I also want it to be enjoyable. I optimize for joy. Joy is important in all things, and especially in technical work. Like, it goes back to the earliest time of computer science, of like tinkering and seeing things built, creating and sharing. When Ada Lovelace created the first algorithms for Babbage's analytical engine, when Katherine Johnson and Margaret Hamilton of NASA felt the thrill of getting humans onto the moon thanks to their calculations and their code.
And joy comes not just from watching our work grow into accomplishments, but also from the everyday small tasks of solving problems, fixing bugs, sharing your solutions with your peers. Do you remember the first time that you solved a really challenging bug? I do. That moment when the code compiled, the tests passed, the computer stopped yelling at me in big red text, it felt good, but mine took days. I was completely lost, I didn't know what to do, and then, somewhat unexpectedly, it worked. That feeling, that moment, was amazing. The truth is, I think that most of us got into this work because we're curious, we're smart, and we genuinely care about making our small corner of the world a better place.
So I'm Adam Seligman, and I look after our developer strategy and products, primarily developer tools, including the AWS Code Suite, AWS Amplify and AppSync, and some new developer services like Code Catalyst that we released this morning. And personally, I believe in building for builders and making sure every builder can have a delightful experience working with AWS in the cloud.
And I'm Emily Freeman. I'm the author of DevOps for Dummies and the co-curator of 97 Things Every Cloud Engineer Should Know. I lead community engagement at AWS, and I think a lot about developer communities and providing technical hands-on builders the best possible experience.
Okay, to set this up, there's a Hungarian-American psychologist named Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi who developed a concept called flow. And this is the state of being when you're just doing something and you're so into it, you're just this like engrossed state. And he said, I'm going to quote this, "The ego falls away, time flies. Every action, movement, and thought follows inevitably from the previous one, like playing jazz." So it's a poetic description in beautiful words, but to help land this, he developed a picture, sort of a diagram, to sort of show us the emotions you feel as you go through a task. Okay, so the horizontal axis is the skill level of the person that's working, and the vertical axis is the difficulty. And you see like worry and anxiety over there when things are high and your difficulty's high and skill level's low. And that blue wedgie, as my kids would call it, is that high skill level, high difficulty state. Now, it's pretty interesting and really resonates for me, but I also think as a developer it's missing something. It's missing something that's there all the time. This insidious thing, friction. Paper cuts, friction that just gets in our way, slows us down, trips us up. It's so common we kind of sometimes maybe don't even notice it anymore.
It's true. It might be a tap on your shoulder or a message in Slack. It could be a last-minute meeting. But more often than not, I think it is the endless paper cuts of frustration in our tools and our processes that prevent any possibility of flow. The UI isn't intuitive. The documentation is difficult to understand, and all of this impacts what I like to call mean time to success. How long does it take from the moment you start in a project to your first win? From the moment you make a change to the moment that change is reflected in source control? Or the time between when you connect your GitHub account and deploy your first environment? This metric isn't about how productive you are as an individual engineer. It measures the level of friction you experience. And it's that friction that we want to eliminate, not only for ourselves as individual engineers, but for our teams and peers. Almost none of us write code in a silo, and finding new ways to collaborate as a unit with our tools unlocks the potential to deliver value faster and more reliably. Friction can be even more interruptive when it actually embeds itself into how we collaborate and work together. Unlocking the power of development teams is core to our mission. Across all AWS services, we want you to be able to get started quickly to access the power of the broadest and most complete set of cloud services so we can all build together. DevOps originated as a way to remove that friction between developers and operations engineers, and for all that DevOps has given us, that reduced silos, better collaboration, moving faster, still new problems have actually emerged. We have more storage, more compute, more tools, more choices than we have ever had before. We face endless decisions: what to buy, what to build, what to integrate. We collaborate with more people, typically distributed across the globe, who all have different backgrounds, different specialties, and certainly different opinions. Our technical stacks have grown to include multiple languages, frameworks, databases, and tools. Now, it turns out humans aren't that great at making 1,000 different decisions in a day. Decision fatigue is a decline in the quality of decision-making an individual can make as more decisions are made. The best example of this is, after a long day, standing in front of your fridge and just not being able to choose what to eat, even though you are absolutely famished. What I like to call cheese and popcorn night at my house. But that is decision fatigue. And regardless of the circumstances, the more decisions you actually face, the more your performance will suffer. At AWS, we want to remove the necessity of decision-making while still retaining your ability to choose.
So development has lots of choices like that also. By the way, for me, when I get home from reInvent, I have to figure out what's still good after I've been here for a week. And I think we face that in tech. Is this tech really what I want to use for this particular project? So this is orchestration of tools and technologies and processes and of course, people. And we end up spending a lot of time just connecting all those dots in those different domains rather than focusing on the things that give us joy, like actually building applications, actually delivering end value for our users. All this friction gets in the way of delivering that end value. Every customer I talk to, that's really what they want to do. Every developer I talk to, that's really what she wants to do, is just get that end value out to their users and features and new capabilities and services. Focus on the business logic, focus on things that are unique to their world. They want a streamlined, cohesive experience that makes it easy for development teams to get their work done and deliver high-quality software quickly and reliably as part of a team. So, inspired by this and Emily's work and the community, we've tried to put together a vision. I've tried to articulate a vision for where we want to take developer experience for AWS. I came up with 3 things, and somehow it turned into a haiku. So bear with me here. A delightful flow for all the developers and every dev team. Now there's sort of 3 parts here, and they're all important. The first is about that delightful flow, removing the friction, providing great DX, and a DX that works for you. And not every developer is the same. And that's the second point. We serve many different kinds of developers, and we'd like to serve many more developers in the world. They have different preferences, skills, they work in different domains, different kinds of projects, different kinds of users. They're not all cloud developers. They do other things. We would like to support all of them. And then finally, developers all work, as you pointed out, in teams. We're all part of a team. And everyone should feel included. Everyone should feel welcome. Everyone should be able to contribute, even if they don't have all the skills and all the pieces. So this is a vision going forward for how we're going to take developer products and tools at Amazon. It's kind of playful here today, but there are 3 really big ideas here that we wanted to share. Okay. The first down payment we're making on that strategy is a new product we're releasing this morning called Amazon Code Catalyst. Did everybody see that in Werner's keynote? Did everybody see that in Werner's keynote? Pretty cool. Okay. So we announced it this morning. It's a new unified software development service for teams to work together and build applications in AWS. Now, a catalyst, it's interesting. I thought a catalyst in the chemical sense that spurs action or stimulates change, but in the dictionary, a catalyst can be a person,
I love
too.
that.
So all of you may be catalysts in your worlds and your teams. We built it to give teams a great team experience, work together, build real production applications on AWS, spend more time developing your features, less time setting up all the things in the project tools, creating and managing your pipelines, provisioning and configuring different environments, and coordinating across all the different tools with all the different team members. Let me walk you through the product, if that's okay. And then we have a great demo coming up. So first and foremost, it's an integrated experience out of the box. It's got, if you didn't catch this morning, it has source repositories, an issue tracker, Kanban board for issues, continuous integration and build infrastructure. It has dashboards, reports. All this creates like a seamless end-to-end experience, so you don't have to switch between different tools and also hope your builds are still running in the background. We manage it. It's managed by AWS. It's like an application for developers. We'll keep it available and secure so you can spend your time building your products. And this is actually an important point. It works across multiple AWS account and IAM roles seamlessly. That's like native in the product. Now, it integrates with popular tools because we want it to be flexible to fit your needs. We designed it to work with the tools you already use. Like lots of people like Jira for issues. Some people don't. I think it's cool. And you could just keep doing that. It's integrated in. It also works, if you prefer GitHub for your source repository, you could do that. Your choice of IDE, we made it really open and as integrated as possible with these other services you already like. And it should have everything you need to plan, code, build, test, and deploy applications in a streamlined integrated experience. So let me share like 3 capabilities that really jump out in this product, 3 features that really jump out. The first is project blueprints. Did you see blueprints this morning, I hope? Pretty cool? Okay, so when you're starting a new project, you know how there's lots to set up? You want to scaffold your app code, get your repos set up, configure the right services and roles, configure your pipelines, and there's just a lot of fine-grained communication. So blueprints set all of that up for you so your team is ready to start working. We launched with 14, actually I think we launched with 15 blueprints now, and we have many more planned. We're very excited about that. The second thing is manage CI/CD pipelines. So Code Catalyst doesn't just generate pipelines from you from a blueprint, you can also create your own. You can enhance an existing pipeline. You can work with a YAML editor, or we have a visual editor, which is really cool with a whole bunch of actions in there. And right away at launch today, we also support all of GitHub Actions, which is really exciting. So you can use GitHub Actions in your pipelines. And so you can build the infrastructure you want to operate, operate your team lifecycle the way you want to see, the way you see fit, and we'll keep it secure, we'll scale it, we'll run it all for you. Okay, dev environments. I had this experience a couple years ago where I was in a job and I had to install a new version of Ruby, and my laptop was locked down and I couldn't do it. So that feeling, that challenge, paper cut, that friction of having to configure your local dev machine is a real pain. Dev environments give you development environments in the cloud that are automatically configured for the project and branch that you're working on. They'll connect to a local IDE. So we have IntelliJ has got a great IDE, and we've integrated with that at launch. We also support VS Code. And it makes it really easy to switch between projects. You can drop into a code branch you've never worked for. You can work in a language you're not even that familiar with. Everything can be provisioned. You can just work in that one little area you want to work without doing that local machine configuration. So all of this is about giving you that great flow. You can start the right way with blueprints. You can set up your project in minutes. The CI/CD is all ready. Fully managed workflows. You can drop anywhere into the code base and start problem solving. It's really exciting to invite your team members in and start working and get some of the end state that you may have read about in Emily's book about getting great DevOps. So with that, let's do a demo. Sound good?
I would love that.
Okay. Let's bring up Kyle Seaman from the product team. The product team, come on out, Kyle. I've got to hand it to them. This product team has been working really hard for a long period of time. Kyle, come on out. All right. Welcome.
Thank you.
Y'all have been working on this for a while, and you're ready to do a good demo today?
We're going to see what we can do. Yeah.
Okay, bring it on.
All right. Well, so thank you both. And thank you, everyone, for coming. I'm really excited to give you a first look at Code Catalyst. We're going to start with Spaces. Code Catalyst Spaces is where you group your projects, you bring them together. It defines the AWS region for your data. It also facilitates collaboration between you and your team, kind of bring it all into one spot. So let's go ahead and add a new project to this space. So Adam mentioned blueprints, but you have another option. You can start from scratch if you want, enter a name, and you're on your way. Or you can use these blueprints. Think of blueprints as template solutions or source code. If those came with everything you need to run, build, and deploy real apps on AWS. So it's not just the example code that they're giving you source repositories, pre-configured workflows, integrated development environments, everything your team needs not just to deploy, but also iterate, expand, build, and make it your own. We support popular architectures at launch, containers, serverless, and then we've worked with the community. We've brought in some of our popular open source AWS solutions, such as the serverless image handler or a video on demand. So we're trying to give a lot of variety for teams to kind of kick off their work quickly. So let's take a look at some Java examples. We'll see we've got a few here, and we'll take the to-do web application. Looking at the details, we'll see it has a CloudFront front end. It's backed by Dynamo, a pretty nice service, but we don't have to do all the work of actually configuring that. The blueprint's going to do that for us. So blueprints are dynamic. Based on the parameters that you configure and customize, you can make it exactly what you need, either to your team's need or your preferences. So we can see here that this one's actually using TypeScript by default. And then over on the right, we'll see a preview where, as we expect in the Lambda folder, we have multiple TypeScript files. If I choose Java, it's going to regenerate the code. It'll provide a preview, but it's actually putting together the new code based on these parameters. I have some other options like our CDK programming language, or you can name variables and things like that. And the last step for here, what we'll do is we're going to add an IAM role from a previously associated AWS account. This will be assumed by our workflows and used to actually take this project code and actually push it into that associated AWS account. And with that, we can create our project. So what this is doing is now taking all that configuration, downloading that code, seeding your first source repository. It's even going to kick off the first workflow, which we'll take a look at here in a moment. And like that, we're created. So this is the project overview. We have members. They've already been added, so they can start accessing and using it. We see our README, which has been customized based on the blueprint configuration. On the left, we see issues. We see code, which we'll be exploring soon. Dev environments. We have workflows, compute and secrets. Everything in one spot. Adam mentioned test reports. So if we peek into the source repository, as you expect, it's a source repository. It's integrated. It works. It has the Java code as we expected. You'll also notice a .code catalyst file. This is defining our workflow, and this particular blueprint has one at start. So looking at that, we'll see that this is triggering on pushes to main. And this blueprint actually comes with a pretty complex multi-stage one that's already running because of that first push that we made. So when we click into that, we'll see that it has, starting from the workflow source, it's then going to run a couple stages. It's going to build our back end. It's going to run some tests, CDK bootstrap that, and then it'll do the deploy before it moves on to actually doing the front end, build and push and test. So that's a quick look at creating your first project using blueprints.
Cool. That was pretty cool. So if I got that right, that first blueprint in the Lambda tier, you had a choice of TypeScript, Python, or Java? And
That's
you
right.
picked Java, and it generated different code for the project?
Yeah, that's right. It'll totally generate based on your inputs. We have different, you'll see another example where we're using different hosting providers.
Yeah.
And it will regen the code exactly for you.
And you also had a choice of region, account, and role in there of where you're going to deploy to also, because it's aware of that?
Yeah, so what's really cool about Code Catalyst is we exist at CodeCatalyst.aws, and you can deploy to any AWS account in any region, giving a lot of flexibility. We hear this feedback for tool chains, and I want to work across lots of accounts, development accounts. So yeah, you can do that.
Okay, you got some more stuff you want to
Yeah, so what I want to show, last thing, and then, is looking at collaboration and working with your team inside of Code Catalyst. So we'll jump into a project. This is based on our single-page application blueprint, which is using, or it's been configured to use Amplify hosting, and it's been customized to be the mock front end for our new website. So we see members are here. As I'd mentioned previously, we see our source repository, README. We see some workflow runs. If we click into this one, this is an on push to main. We'll see that this ran a little earlier. It had 2 stages, a build and test, and then a deploy. We can actually click into the View app, and this is going to open up our hosted site. So Quackabot is our product, fastest way to find your code. It's not real. We'll go back to Code Catalyst, and we'll show you what we can do to make a little change. So I can go back to the overview. We'll see that we have pull requests, we have dev environments, we have issues. So we can click into the issue board. What's really cool, and I mentioned this, comes built in with a Kanban board. You can drag and drop your issues, as your day goes along. You can also create custom views. Maybe your team wants to run stand-up using swim lanes based on features or other labels. And so let's actually take an issue. Emily messaged me earlier. We needed a better Quokka icon. So she made this issue. We can see here, short description. There's a link to the code. So we can open that up. And while it's doing that, I had an email from her as well to download the new image. So let's do that. So we'll save it to the desktop. And going back in here, it's a small change. I think even a product manager can probably do this one. So updating that to the new icon. So I have two options now. Going to the repo, I can clone this locally, as I normally would. I'll set up my environment. I don't do this often, but that's fine. Or I can use Git dev environments. So I can open this in the browser using Cloud9. I can open it in one of my favorite JetBrains IDEs, or Visual Studio Code. For this example, we'll use Visual Studio Code. I can open this on the main branch, or I can create a new branch automatically. So let's do that. We'll call this updating the landing page, and we'll go ahead and create this. What this is going to do now is take the code from that branch and provision a hosted cloud dev environment, but open my local IDE. So this is incredibly cool. If you've ever had to work across runtimes, versions, even languages, and we see this with our own team, moving between that content switching, setting up your node, it's just painful. This gets you in there with everything you need. It's now going to connect over SSH to the remote host. And with that, I have the entire project loaded, pre-configured with everything I need to actually run it on my local machine. So as expected, I have the app here. This is a React app, so I'll go npm run start, as you traditionally would. And what's really cool is we use port forwarding, so even though this is a remote environment, it's actually going to open on my local browser, localhost 3000, and I can do my traditional React development like I always would. And so while that's building, let me grab the local image I have, and I'm going to drop that into the VS Code editor, and we'll see the two. So on the left, we have the current website, and we have the new image that Emily would like to use. I think it's pretty good. So going into the app.tsx, all I have to do is update the import. And as you would expect if you've done any React development, I'll hit save, it'll compile, and instantly I'll see the preview. So this looks good to me. What I'm going to do now is I'll git commit it, git push it. But you'll notice at no point have I set up Git credentials. I haven't had to deal with personal access tokens or anything. It's just, it works for me out of the box or out of the container. And so we'll go back to Code Catalyst, view our branches. And as expected, there's the updating landing page. And my last step here, the commit came through, thankfully. And my last step is to open a pull request. So we support common sort of modern development flows like that with pull requests. I'll assign this to Emily. I'm going to make Adam optional. If you've worked with him, you can't count on that. Anyway, pull request title, new landing page, and I can leave a short description and something like that for the team to see. Emily will get notified, and I'll be able to, she'll be able to merge this in maybe after the talk. Small change. I can see the diff there. So that's great. So I've created the pull request. Let me show you the other side of this, of receiving a pull request assignment. So Emily made one earlier today about adding an about section. I'll click into that. And there's a couple changes that were made, which we can see. First is updating our workflow. This actually comes with an on-pull request workflow as well, and we've updated to use our auto test report discovery. So that should be a nice feature going forward. And there's this about component that's going to get added. You'll notice on the right, there's also a success workflow that's been run. So let's click into that. So this is, as I mentioned, set to run on pull requests made against main. It's running a single stage, a build and test, kind of a sanity check of the code. And what's really cool is I open that up, I'll see it ran multiple stages, but it also has reports. And clicking into this, I can actually see this. So Code Catalyst comes built in with test report visualization, supporting a lot of the most popular formats. You can set success criteria or whatever your policies are, and you never have to leave your tool. Your developers can see if their pull request passed or if they failed, and you're on your own until you need help, and then you can just ask and they come in. So I'll approve this. Looks great. And the last step is merging. We have multiple options. This project is set up to use squash and merge, so I'll use that merge strategy. I could use fast forward as well. And then I'm going to delete this branch during that process. And with that, we'll merge this in. And then, as I'd mentioned earlier, you may recall, there was an on push to main. What this is doing is actually making that push to main. So let's go check that out. So multiple branches with workflows. Go down to the main one. We'll see it's running, luckily, as expected. And then we'll check in. So this is going to take a minute or two to build, and it will deploy. And there you go. We've made a change, merged it in, and pushing it up. Last thing I wanted to show you is we've been working really hard with JetBrains. We know how beloved their IDEs are and how great it is for different languages. And they have a product called JetBrains Gateway. And what's super cool about this is you can actually access Code Catalyst directly from your desktop. You never actually have to go to the browser. So you can see spaces, you can see your projects, you can launch new dev environments, or you can hop back into one you're running. And it's anticlimactic in that it's just going to work. It's going to open up your IDE, and you're going to have your code as you would expect. But the friction is gone of having to set up what node version should I be running, what Java, all that is gone. So yeah, this will stand up in IntelliJ. As expected, it's pulling down this is a Java project specifically, where obviously IntelliJ really shines. And with that, you're back in. So that's a look at Code Catalyst, how you can use projects to work with your team, but also how you can use dev environments to really facilitate moving across those projects and just getting into that flow a little bit more.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, Kyle. Can we get a hand for Kyle?
Thank you.
Available now, Kyle? Everybody can go and get it now. Awesome. Okay, so managed cloud environments are particularly cool. You can get different sizes also, which I really like if you need a really hot machine for the particular project you're working on. So I hope you all check it out. And can I just get one more hand for the team that's worked so hard on this? Because this is really, really awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of Java, I've worked in Java for years, but if you asked me to write a main method from scratch, I would always have to look it up. I can never remember the actual order. And I don't think I'm alone in this. I think a lot of us do the same thing 500 different times and still have to look it up. Now, I'll be honest. I've spent a significant amount of time on Stack Overflow. And in my lowest moments, I didn't even read the code that I was copying and pasting. I was just slinging code into my IDE and praying, hoping that it would work. It usually didn't. And I think that's really because sometimes it didn't have the context of the application or the class within which I worked. It's that context that's key, that magic connection between human thought and machine-readable code. What if you never had to leave your IDE ever again to look something up? What if it just did it for you? That is exactly what Amazon Code Whisperer does. Our dream is that you never have to copy and paste code ever again. You'll simply write what you want to do in natural language, and then Code Whisperer will provide you with the best possible solution in code. This machine learning powered service makes coding delightful by generating code recommendations based on existing code and developer comments. Instead of thinking like a machine and spending time translating your thoughts into code that will eventually compile, you can simply write a comment about what you want to do, and Code Whisperer will auto-generate code based on your intent that matches your personal patterns and style. But here's my favorite part, Adam. If the code recommendation is similar to a piece of code used in the training data, Code Whisperer provides a code reference and includes the open source license the original author utilized, empowering you to write code responsibly. You can accept the top recommendation, view more recommendations, or continue writing your code from scratch, all in your IDE. Amazon Code Whisperer is currently in public preview. It's available through the AWS IDE Toolkit and is enabled in VS Code, JetBrains, AWS Cloud9, and the AWS Lambda console. It currently supports some of your favorite languages, Python, Java, and of course, JavaScript. This week, we also added in TypeScript and C#. Yeah.
I'm guessing that was TypeScript, but it might be C#, and we could clap for both of them. So let's talk about some key features for the service. So Code Whisperers is all about accelerating developer productivity by giving you recommendations, like it's suggesting code for you. And it works in these different languages, and it's not just writing like one function or one little snippet or one line. It can write whole blocks of code or whole function, which is pretty neat. One thing that's really cool about Code Whisperer is it has unmatched support for AWS APIs. We've worked really hard to make sure that it has fantastic experience with AWS APIs. All the popular ones you know and love, EC2 and Lambda and S3, and give you really high quality recommendations so you can work faster, accept the recommendation hopefully, and work faster. And then this one is absolutely unique and incredibly important, which is a responsible use of AI and ML. Now, we train this thing on a combination of open source API and the code that powers Amazon. Open source code and the code that powers Amazon. And to make sure you, when you use this, can use it responsibly, we provide what Emily mentioned, which is a code reference. I'm going to show you that in a minute. The feature is called Reference Tracker, and it will detect any time that code that's generated, remember it's not copy and pasted, it's being generated, but if it's similar enough, we'll give you a recommendation so you are informed. You know if you want to use it or not. You can decide if you want to use it or not. You'll know what the license is and what repo it came from. We also have a functionality there to avoid bias, to remove any code recommendations that might be biased or unfair. And there's also a security capability, which uses a combination of CodeGuru and automated reasoning, so you can scan your code and identify security vulnerabilities and improve your code quality. Okay, I'm going to do a demo. So let's say you're in Java and you're going to implement an MD5 hash function. And I don't remember exactly how to do that. So what I do is I write here a comment that describes what I want. And CodeWhisperer pops up options for method signatures that I can just flip through with my arrow keys. I like that one. And now it's going to suggest bodies for that method, which is pretty cool. So see, it's got a couple here. I like this one. And let's go. And that's pretty cool. It just wrote all the code, suggested all the code to provide MD5 hash for me, utility for me. Let me show you another one. So now let's say we need to find out if a string is a valid regular expression. I had to look this up when I was preparing because I didn't remember. So I put my comment in like I need to, and it's just one parameter, which is regular expression. This one returns a bool. That's cool. Now it's generating code for me. I like that second one. That's actually pretty straightforward. There's some helper function I didn't know about. But now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to have CodeWhisperer write tests for me. CodeWhisperer is going to generate unit tests. It's going to take it a second. We're going to scroll down, and it's going to generate unit tests that exercise this method. Is that cool or what?
It's very cool.
Pretty cool. Okay, now let's talk about AWS APIs. So let's say we're going to set an access control list on an S3 bucket. I don't know exactly how to do that. I put the parameters in. I describe the method. I put the parameters that I'm going to use, and CodeWhisperer is going to make suggestions for me. Give it a second. Here it comes. I like that one. And now it's going to suggest the body of the method for me. Create a client, Amazon S3. This one's got a try and a catch. I think I want to use that one. And away we go. So we've worked really hard to make sure we've got great support for AWS APIs, best in the business, and I really hope you'll give that a shot. I'm going to do another one. I'm going to show you how the reference tracker works now. So in this example, we're copying from one S3 bucket to another. So there's like 2 buckets, and there's a key in there. We're going to it's going to suggest a method we like, signature that we like that one. And now it's going to generate some bodies for us. Now look at this. Now see that lowest line down there that the cursor moves over? It has the license. This first part of the code looks very similar to some code that was in the training set. So we're notifying you of that so you're aware and can decide if you want to use that code or not. This is responsible use of open source training code. In addition, it actually shows you the repo that it came from. We create a log. You can see down at the bottom the log. So you have this as for reference. And there's also a setting where you can turn off. And so you can block any code that has a reference that looks similar to some code in the training set. You could actually turn it off and block that. So excited to show that. I think with just a couple of quick examples there, we're pretty cool how it shows you can match your personal coding style and thought process. And we love the open source community and all communities, and we want to be a responsible member in it.
That's incredible.
This is like an ongoing thing, a commitment to responsible AI, and feel that we have to be an ethical partner to the community. And I want to move past that to another part of community and to this theme of building together. And this concept that any developer with any background should be able to access the power of the cloud on AWS. You shouldn't have to be an expert to use it. And some of our services have a steep learning curve. An example is like composing application out of lots of AWS services. There's a lot you need to know about, how to make them work together, how to configure them to get the best defaults. And then once you know the basic architecture, you still might have to learn how to do infrastructure of code, how to put it all together. So, or you might walk into an existing project, you join a team, but you don't know all the things they've done, there's a high learning curve. So I'm pleased that we announced this morning in Werner's keynote a new product called AWS Application Composer, available in preview, designed to make all this easier for serverless applications. It's a visual serverless application composer using our various AWS services, configuring them, and backing you up with deployment-ready infrastructure as code. So let me tell you a little more about it. So the first thing you start with is a visual canvas. And this lets you drag and drop serverless resources onto the canvas. You can connect them and quickly create serverless applications just in minutes. You can start from scratch, or you can load an existing ISC file, and Application Composer will visualize it for you so you can make sense of, well, what is this project that I'm dropping into? How have they architected this thing? It does configure the services for you, which is really cool, with smart default settings, connections between the services. It will generate both AWS CloudFormation and AWS SAM artifacts, which is very cool. Oh, and this is really neat. It does this in real time, like your architecture in real time. So the visual representation you see is in sync with the IAC in the file. So you can like whiteboard and share ideas, and like we can drag and drop and look at things, and the IAC code is being updated as we work through it. Again, you can import existing CloudFormation or SAM templates, which is pretty cool. And it's got all the serverless functions you like, AWS Lambda, step functions, Event Bridge, really anything supported by CloudFormation will work in there, which is pretty cool. Okay, should we do a demo?
Yes.
Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so here we go. You start with two options. You can start from scratch or create a new one. We're gonna create a new one. On the right is the visual canvas, and the right is the IAC file, just with an editor. So the first thing we're gonna add, oh, but it's small, is a bucket. We add the bucket and you see all the IAC code generated. There's some configuration option on the right that come up visually that we can click into. For example, block public access is right there. And now we can add a Lambda function and connect the two. So this would be like a trigger on the bucket, create something, kick off the function, and you see the event is added there, line 44. We can also flip it around and change the order. For example, if our function we're writing into a bucket, and there you go, it'll change that IAC in that part. So it's pretty neat. This is all happening interactively. It's a great way to learn also. Here we're going to add a state machine connected to an event rule out of Event Bridge and wire those up. And then also add a REST API. And the REST API, without writing any code, is going to have default paths and responses as well as status codes. And you end up with like a really rich, useful, deployable best practices IAC file. So that's, we're super excited about that. It seems like really exciting for both skilled users, for users that are learning, people that are new to project, all work and build together.
I love that AWS Application Composer creates flow by eliminating the need to know CloudFormation syntax for each and every resource. That's a lot to remember. It also reduces the friction of integration by, well, you saw it, integrating it for me in real time. I'm excited about how this enables building together by clarifying communication across teams. Being able to visually design an application, discuss that design with your colleagues, and quickly iterate on those ideas not only increases developer productivity, but I think developer enjoyment. Drag and drop is fun. Across the full stack, our mission is to delight developers by offering the most productive way to build well-architected, cloud-backed applications that deliver high-quality user experiences. But that's not enough. I think we should go even further and support you as your apps grow, enabling larger teams and new use cases.
Yeah, one area where we see this a lot is in the world of like smartphones and interactive experiences. Like, it's kind of an amazing change of how consumers interact with brands, I think. Like, all these touch points we have with brands in our personal lives are digitally delivered there. It's an app to like learn about a product. It's an app to buy a product. The product might come with an app. We might consume content over the web from the brand. We might need customer support or do community engagement with the brand. It all happens in these front-end experiences. It's super important to brands for how they show up with their customers, and therefore front-end dev work is super valuable for brands right now. It's a really, really hot area that drives a lot of business value. So when it comes to building front ends, we kind of see two kinds of developers. We see front-end developers, and then who build the actual end experiences. And they want cool APIs and stuff to like make and services to make the experiences delightful. But then they also need these back-end for front-end developers that kind of set up the back-ends for them and give them the services that help them go. And the cloud democratizes access for both these kinds of developers and just let them focus on the areas that they want to actually focus on.
Absolutely. GraphQL actually simplifies API architectures, making it easier for front-end developers to build apps on top of data. With GraphQL, front-end developers can get unified access to fetch just the data that they need from multiple data sources with a single API call. With managed GraphQL, work like complex server setup, configuration, patching, and operations goes away, giving teams GraphQL goodness without all the extra work.
So with that inspiration, we have a great product for that, which is a managed GraphQL service called AppSync. And it gives you a single data API that connects to all the different microservices and backend resources you want to just give something really elegant for front-end devs to work with. It's cool. It works real time and has a PubSub API, and it also has an offline data sync capability because, I don't know about you, but my phone is not always connected, and it's really nice when the app still works. And it's fully serverless. We manage it, we do the auto scaling, and we provide the observability. And this week, or I think it was last week, we announced JavaScript support inside the GraphQL backend, so you can write logic in the API tier that uses the same language that your front-end teams are working with and familiar with. So we're really excited about this in general, this offering for front-end web and mobile developers with AppSync. They can create apps faster, build really performant apps. There's built-in security and observability with everything you expect from AWS, like CloudWatch, X-Ray, and AWS WAF support. So AppSync is super exciting for these teams. But I thought I would also step back and sort of provide just like an overview of like the landscape and then go in deep in some new areas. So overall, the landscape for front-end developer experience in AWS, we have this sort of broad product offering. When developers want to just host a website and they want to take their favorite framework like Next.js or React or Vue, Amplify Hosting makes it really, really easy. You literally just connect it to your Git repo, and it will set up a pipeline and deploy a website for you in AWS. Really, really nice. Say you want to like flesh out the back end you're going to need to make that website go. Developers can use, to make those nice interactive features, developers can use Amplify Studio and our CLI tool, Amplify CLI tool, to create the necessary backend, sort of stub it out, and by just providing the data model. And then as they build out the UI and want to add like forms and all these cool components that connect to cloud services and have data and wire that all up, Amplify Studio makes that easy. And then finally, as they connect their app and their UI to more cloud service and add more capability from the cloud, Amplify libraries, including like a Swift library for AWS, which is really cool, and UI components make that super easy. So the idea is to have a whole portfolio of services that work the way front-end web developers want to work and mobile developers want to work and help them innovate. And one of the things we released in the last 2 weeks is hosting for something new called Next.js 13, which includes something called server-side rendering. So I had to dive into this, and I wanted to understand, why is server-side rendering a big deal? What is this, and why is it important? So over the last 10 years, web development's got incredibly powerful with these like libraries and frameworks and things like React and Angular. And it cut down on server-side round trips, which is cool. And we had a lot of richness in interactivity. But there was a downside. And then as we get these like ever-increasing JavaScript bundle sizes, which made things, it's like slow to load, slow to parse, and opaque to search crawlers too. Like, and it's not good if your web experience can't really be searched very well by search engines. So server-side rendering offloads that rendering of the popular content to the server, and then it caches it to the edge. Really cool, but those are like cloud things, right? Like those are not client-side things, those are cloud things. So what's neat about Next.js and our support for Next.js support Amplify Hosting is we offer SSR support with no extra work for developers. They just use Next.js. If they want to add functionality like server-side JavaScript, it'll just run in AWS, and it makes the whole thing load faster, pre-renders popular content using the power of the cloud, and delivers a better web experience for end users. So we just launched this, very excited about this. And I think what we should do is a demo.
I would love that.
Invite one of the product managers up. Sound good? We like demos here, right? Okay. Renee, come on out, Renee. Let's have Renee come up and give us a demo. Thanks.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey. I'm so excited to show you something really, really cool around web hosting. So let's build our Next.js application. We're going to start by deploying a Next.js starter app as like the basis to build out our app, right? And it's just a brief look at what the code for it looks like. Now, deploying Next.js apps on AWS is zero configuration using Amplify hosting. Let's visit the Amplify console here to get started. And Amplify offers a Git-based workflow for all of these deployment mechanisms. So once I connect the Git branch to Amplify, Amplify handles the rest. All build settings are automatically detected. So all I really need to do is like click next, 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 done, and then bam, it's ready to go. And so in a matter of minutes, my app will be fully deployed on infrastructure that is also fully managed. I get my app, its pages, API routes, hosted on a CDN with a global network of 400+ points of presence. As a front-end developer building a Next.js app on AWS, I really do not need any prior cloud knowledge. And I can set up things like a custom domain with a single click. And my favorite feature is you can set up pull request previews. So you can try new features before they impact production. And last but definitely not least, monitoring is built in without you having to do anything extra. That means track traffic, set up alarms, and analyze logs. Pretty cool, huh? So the key benefit is not just a zero configuration hosting, but also easy access to the breadth of AWS services made directly available from your Next app. So for example, you store and serve files and images from S3, right? Or handle data requests, right? Through GraphQL APIs using AppSync and DynamoDB. So with Amplify, you can actually leverage the power of AWS, use them in conjunction with Next, and with the capabilities you're really familiar with on Next, like image optimizations, API routes, and server-side rendering, right? Let's take a look at that. So we're going to actually be building out our app a little bit more. We're going to be building a home listings app. So as a first step, let's assume our backend team has already stored all the photos in the on Amazon S3, and we need to serve them now inside our application. But let's first run this one CLI command that we have. And what this does is it connects our Next app with the AWS backend, so all the connection strings and all that stuff, right? And then Amplify offers client libraries, in this case storage, that provide intuitive APIs to connect to the cloud. And here you can see, for instance, the request to fetch all the photos. Now, to optimize the images that we're actually fetching, let's also replace like the standard image, HTML image tag with the next image component. Next image automatically optimizes the images in the app, making it performant so your app loads faster. Let's see how this works. Let's first push our code to Git again, as always. And as you can see, the website is coming live and the pictures are streaming in. And if you look carefully there, they're coming in as a WebP format, and they're just a few kilobytes large. And then, if we now look into the back end of things, they're actually originally in PNG files with tens of megabytes in size.
Wild.
Now, fun fact, actually, if you open this on a phone, which has a smaller screen, it will also be dynamically changing the resolution as you're fetching those images. Now, normally, building image optimization capabilities require writing like hundreds of lines of code of like and managing additional infrastructure just to handle that image resize on request. Now, all of this is abstracted away. So you, as a front-end developer, can just use the image component like it is any other UI component in your app.
That's incredible.
Cool.
Very cool. Last year, we launched Studio to accelerate UI building, and this year we're adding form building capabilities to Studio. It's the new way to easily design, build, and render cloud-connected forms from any API, generating forms by working backwards from the expected data they should produce. And the generated forms, they're just code that you can modify as you see fit. It's very flexible. Amplify Studio generates forms based on your JSON data or GraphQL schema. Studio can also deploy a matching cloud database to forms created from scratch. With Studio's new form builder, developers can save time on validation rules and visually configure common validation rules, like emails and URLs. Amplify Studio auto-generated forms are fully customizable in code, so your forms adapt to your project, not the other way around. And you can render forms in just 2 lines of code. Would you mind showing us how that works?
I love it. Okay. So now that our images in our previous apps are loaded, we may want to have a way for admins to submit additional information for those images, like metadata, if you will, right? With Amplify Studio's form builder, you can just provide the data you want the form to produce, and we automatically generate the React code for you. You can also drag and drop things around and add common validation rules visually, but don't worry, you can also extend them in code. Now, to render these components, what we have to do is effectively download these React components and move them into our apps folder. Drag and drop right there. And then in 2 lines of code, we can integrate them into our app. 1 line to basically import them, and 1 line to render. OK, now that we have our form integrated in our app, we do need to set up a server-side form submission endpoint that stores our data. And setting up the server-side endpoint with Next.js is really easy. All we have to do is create an API folder, add a handler logic there, and then push that to Git, as you can see here. And Amplify Hosting then sets up that form endpoint server-side. Previously, opening up a new endpoint required the front-end developer to either set up that server-side infrastructure themselves or work with a backend team to stand up this new endpoint. And now, it is all abstracted away. So now I've pushed this code to Git now, and let's try to add some additional home information to this particular photo. As I'm clicking through the app, you can see the form is running exactly as anticipated. And also, you can see how we're editing the zip code information, the address, and also how the validation is kicking in. So for example, the license number must start with a hashtag, right? And now when I click on submit, I can check out the submission request to our endpoint, and voila!
Takes a minute.
Yeah, there you go. We submitted the information correctly. And with that, we can basically complete the entire end-to-end development lifecycle with Next.js. With Amplify Studio's form builder, you are really given a new way to easily design, build, and render cloud-connected React components for any API. There is no other tool that allows you to get started visually and continue so seamlessly in code. And just to recap, in the last 6 minutes alone, we were able to deploy a Next.js app with Amplify Hosting, use Next Image to serve files from S3, and also use these generated forms from Amplify Studio, and then submit the form using a Next API route. I really can't wait to see what everybody's going to build with Amplify Hosting. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Renee.
Awesome. Well, just to summarize the products you saw today, Amazon Code Catalyst available now in preview, a great integrated developer environment, Amazon Code Whisperer, the ML-assisted code suggestions and generation for you, again, available now in preview. Application Composer, available as of this morning, the visual serverless composition environment. AppSync and Amplify with the cool releases. A big congrats to the team for all the front-end web and mobile team is done with Amplify and AppSync. Super excited to see that. Really hope you will try all these different products in the spirit of letting you work the way each of you as different kinds of developers and your teams want to work. That's the summary, I think, and these 3 big ideas I just want to leave you with. That idea that every developer deserves tools that works in the domain in the way that she or he wants to work. The idea that everyone should have access to be able to come in and use the power of the cloud, and that we're all part of teams, and we're going to build together. And we should all be able to contribute and feel included, and we're trying to back that up in our products. So thanks, everyone, for coming today. Thank you, Emily. Thank you to our presenters, and thanks to all of you in our community for on this amazing journey of building great developer tools.
Thank you.